Welcome, everybody. It's Monday, February 23rd, 2015. And I'm David I, and welcome to this weekly Embarcadero Community Webcast. Last week, Monday, was a holiday here in the U.S., President's Day, and I was also on vacation in Death Valley, California. But I survived the desert, and I'm back in the offices here in Scotts Valley. So let's get started by looking at the Embarcadero Community homepage. Again, this is where you can log in and participate in the new Community 3.0 site. On the homepage, you'll see latest news, upcoming events, question and answers, some new users that have joined recently, some featured articles, and you can use the menu to navigate to the different sections of the community site. First, let's take a look at some of the recent news that has appeared on the community site. We put out a press release last week about an enterprise move of a Computer Associates Irwin customer to move to ER Studio. It's a major enterprise customer, and the press release talks about the migration from CA to Embarcadero data modeling tools. This customer is expected to deploy ER Studio to hundreds of data modelers. Wayne Williams said, "We are delighted to be helping yet another large enterprise as they move from Irwin to ER Studio. This customer has seen ER Studio speed the opening of their huge data models by 10 times and significantly enhance their use within the business." Also on VentureBeat.com, John J.T. Thomas, our Senior Director of Product Management for Developer Tools, and this guest article talks about what the Internet of Things means for business application developers. This week, we have several events showing up on the events calendar. As always, on Tuesday, we have the Developer Skill Sprints for Rad Studio XZ7, and on Thursday, the Developer Skill Sprints focused on FireDAC. A couple of new events, a webinar working with different kinds of data with David Lotion. That's going to take place this Thursday, February 26th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Also this Wednesday, February 25th, we'll have our Rad in Action Building Connected Apps with Bluetooth and App Tethering webinar at 6 a.m., 11 a.m., and 5 p.m. You'll learn how to connect to Bluetooth LE or low energy devices, in particular a heart rate monitor. Use app tethering to take the data and connect it to other applications over the network and Bluetooth. The webinar will also show you how to analyze the data lifecycle of an IoT solution to understand the possible data management and app logic tiers. Here's the landing page for the Skill Sprint series this quarter. This Tuesday, February 24th, we'll focus on build an app with multi-device designer that consumes JSON from a SharePoint REST API. And then on Thursday, if we scroll down, we'll see the FireDAC Skill Sprint series. On Thursday, the 26th, the focus will be on pre-processing SQL operations using the FireDAC set of components. We also have a landing page on YouTube on the Embarcadero TechNet channel for all the Developer Skill Sprint replays. So you can go to the playlist and choose the skill sprints that you want to take a look at in case you missed some, or you want to revisit some of the sessions that you already took to review the information and learn additional tips. On the community site, we also have a blog where members of our community and our employees are blogging different topics. You just go to the main menu, blogs. You'll see some featured Embarcadero bloggers, and also you can see the View All menu choice here. The View All will bring up a list of featured bloggers and other active bloggers here in the community. Let's take a look at a few of the recent blog posts. This one is by Serena DuPont. It's using existing client dataset data in an FDMEM table. So she's got an article about putting a client dataset component down and connecting it to an FDMEM table. And so screenshots, steps that you can follow. Using the FDMEM table component, you can save and load data in XML format, an internal binary format, and also JSON. Here's another article by Serena. This is about using the Fire UI multi-device application development technology in XZ7. In this example, she has a human resources manager example with employees and information about those employees. This was presented as part of our recent Code Rage 9 online conference, and also was the focus of a recent skill sprint that Serena did. And in this blog post, she has screenshots to explain the user interface functionality and some of the property settings and the use of the Live Bindings Visual Designer. At the end of the article, she has a link to download the source code for the HR project. Tim Del Chiaro has posted a link to a replay from last year's Data U online conference. And it's a presentation all about managing database security and compliance. Another video from the Data U series is about the top productivity solutions for DBAs. And here it says, why has Monster Energy drink become standard operating equipment for DBAs? Brian Alexakis posted a blog post about top 5 tips for RESTful APIs and closing the loop on OAuth 2. Many of the REST APIs that are out there that we use the OAuth 2 authorization framework. And Brian goes through information about how you can learn to effectively use OAuth 2 based services in your applications. In the Embarcadero community site, we have a questions and answers area. By using the answers menu, you can post a question as well as post answers to questions that community members have asked. So there's lots of questions with replies and votes as well. So if you're logged in, you can vote for your favorite answer. You can also post answers and comment on answers that community members add to the question. Let's take a look at a couple of the questions that came out recently. Steve asks, is there any way to move the DB controls to a data module without losing the info? And he was copying and pasting, looks like individual components, instead of selecting all of them. And Werewolf, who's a gold user, rank 61, said, don't cut your FireDuck components, and instead copy them with the binding scope components linked to them and paste them into the data module. That way, the database components themselves and the bind scope components for the live bindings technology will all be in the same data module. And Steve just posts a thank you. And someone has voted. When you're logged in, you can also add to the voting. I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but I'll just say, Nat asked a question about configuring a laptop to do iOS development work. And he says he was using a Windows PC with a Mac Mini to do his cross-platform development with Delphi XE7, and wanted to know what the best way, what notebook to use, what the configuration might be, and so on. And Steve answered, he's got a MacBook Pro, and the reply was, thanks for your answer and experience. Here at Embarcadero, we also use MacBook Pros to do our multi-device development. Most of us have a fairly recent MacBook Pro with 16 gigabytes of main memory and a large enough flash hard drive for speed and performance. I think mine has 750 gig. Jim McKeith's has a terabyte flash disk. Some of us use VMware Fusion. I use Parallels Desktop for the Mac. They both work equally well. And then I have multiple VMs for Windows to run my IDE. In my case, I've got a Windows 8.1 partition and a Windows 7 partition, and also a Windows 10 preview partition that I'm using to do testing as we move towards Windows 10 release sometime later this year. Making sure you have a fast enough MacBook Pro with a lot of memory. And I think I allocate 4 gigabytes of memory to my Windows IDE and 2 processor cores just so that I can play with the parallel programming library. If you're considering what kind of machine to use that is portable, MacBook Pro is definitely the way to go to do iOS development. You can also, in your Windows VM, run the IDE, as well as do your Android testing and Android deployment with the Windows-based Android SDK. But for iOS development and for Mac OS 10 development, you'll need a Macintosh or a Mac Mini, and you'll need Xcode installed, the command line tools installed, the SDKs, so that you can go from the Windows IDE through the connection information, through the platform assistant server to get to the Mac, to get to the iOS device. Asaf is asking about credit card reader information or demos for XE7. He's got a credit card reader link that he puts here that uses the credit card readers, some of them that go through the headphone jack mobile, like the Square, I think it is, and such. And Werewolf answered that there isn't an API that we have directly. We don't have a a specific component for credit card reading. Since the Asoft's credit card reader comes with a Java file for Android, we do have the ability to create interfaces for a jar file or Java file using the Java to Object Pascal utility that's available in the registered user downloads area. Werewolf went back and forth with Asoft about some of the answers there. And then Werewolf also posted some links. One is in the doc wiki for XE7. There's information about how to add a Java library to your application using the project manager for Android. And then using a custom set of Java libraries, there's also some information about doing that in the doc wiki as well. Jim McKeith, in his Code Rage talk last year, did a session on new Android features in XE7, and that's on the Embarcadero TechNet replay, and I have the link there. Inside of that, Jim covers using the Java to Object Pascal utility to take a jar file and convert the interfaces into Pascal. And that part of the video, at around the 9-minute and 58-second point, Jim goes through working with the jar file and the Java to OP utility. While I was reading last week on vacation, I bumped into this interesting article about the user experience of mobile settings in different mobile application platforms, in particular this one on iOS 8, Android KitKat, and Windows Phone. And this article goes through how you should set up your settings pages on the different platforms. I thought it was a pretty good overview of things that we also already do in our demos for setting up settings pages. Serena DuPont's done a whole series of blog posts on user interface guidelines using FireMonkey. So this is an interesting article about how to set up settings and how they look on the different platforms. We're supporting right now iOS 8 and Android KitKat and Android Lollipop or Android L in our current releases. So you might check out the UX of mobile settings article. And then finally, I just wanted to cover the special offers that are going on right now this quarter here on the Rad Offer page at www.embarcadero.com/Rad Offer. We've got our upgrade XE7 and save up to 45%. That's for developers that are on the last 3 releases. You also can upgrade if you're on XE2 and earlier. If you add 1 year of update subscription, you can get the upgrade price. We also have a buy one, get one free. A buy one, get one free if you upgrade or purchase a license. We'll bring you down here on the page about the different choices of products that you can add on for free. So once you purchase and register an XE7 product, then you get to this page where you can put in your serial number for your XE7 product. And then there's additional information about how you can get from to the redemption page. If you purchase the Enterprise Edition of our Rad Studio Delphi and CBuilder products, we'll give you 10 user licenses for the Enterprise Mobility Services, EMS, for free. Also, we have the free bonus pack with Marco Cantu's Object Pascal ebook, Castalia for Delphi, the ID plugin for enhanced coding and syntax highlighting, the VCL and FireMonkey Premium styles, and the Media Converter Basic Edition, which allows you to convert your VCL applications to FireMonkey applications. It'll also create live bindings for any database connections that you have. And then the final offer that's available on the Rad Offer page is buy XE7 and get the next major release for free. This is available for anyone who purchases between February 23rd and March 31st, 2015. Once the next major release is ready, you'll get email instructions on how to access the maintenance portal to redeem your free copy. And if you want to be on the beta test for the next release, which includes iOS 64-bit development, I point you to John Thomas's recent blog post to join the beta to get access to the 64-bit iOS toolchain. And there's some information on this article and an email address that you need to send the information to. In this email, the product management team wants you to include the following information: your EDN email address that you use to register your products, a short description or temporary name of an iOS 64-bit app that you're working on, the intended publish date, how far along you are with iOS development, which third-party components you're using, if any, so we can make sure that you're not blocked by third-party components in some way. So take a look at JT's blog post and the information, and here's the email address, iOS64beta@embarcadero.com. So that's it for this week's Embarcadero Community Webcast for Monday, February 23rd. As always, if you have any questions, you can send me an email to david@embarcadero.com. And as I have in the past, I'll put all the links for the pages that I talked about today in a blog post on my David I Sip from the Fire Hose here on the community site. We'll see you next week.